You know what time it is. It's 9 to 5 with Gavin and Mike. In this episode, we'll be talking about how to consciously create new habits. But before we do that, drop the intro.
Konnichiwa. My name is Gavin Masamiya.
Nice to see ya.
I'm a mindset coach based out of West LA.
And I'm Mike Behaviour.
You hear me?
I'm a transformation life coach from London.
These recordings are short, sharp, sweet snippets of insight for anybody hustling a 9 to 5.
That's right. You can tune into them on your way to work, on your lunch break, or on your way home after a long day's hustle. And the topic of today's conversation is all about habits. And Gavin is very passionate about habits. We have some similar ideas about habits, and I want to get your insights on habits, why they're so important, how you go about developing new habits. So why don't you tell us off the bat what's so important about a habit?
Well, I think the great thing about habits, right, is that, you probably heard or you experienced in your life that our willpower, like exercising our self-discipline, it takes energy. And for me, I'll even say I'm mortal enough to realize, I'm intelligent enough to know that I only have a finite amount of willpower. And what beautiful thing about a habit is when we know our why is the purpose of, let's say, meditating? Why is that so important to me? What kind of potential benefits? Maybe I'll do research about it to find out what some type of benefits and empirical studies, clinical studies have been done on it to give me more of that drive for it. And once that goes in, it's like, okay, I'm going to meditate 5 minutes a day. This is this. A habit is when it seeps into your subconscious. When it seeps into that, it becomes more automatic. Like, for instance, the cold showers for me now, they're an automatic thing. Yeah, I'll still have times like I don't really want to do it, but my body knows. My body goes faster than my mind can actually process it. It goes in automatically. And so there's certain habits that we have that sometimes we didn't will ourselves to create that habit. We reacted into one. Late night discovery on Instagram. Habit. It was not something maybe we responded to or consciously decided. So habits are something that we can actually consciously create, or it's just something that occurs by default, right? Towards the end of the day, usually our willpower is really waning. And so although we might be sleepy, it's easy. It doesn't take any willpower at the end of the day to just do a quick dopamine scroll. So I did that yesterday. And so I'm by no means perfect, but habits, consciously designing and creating habits are so powerful because that changes life. That changes life, man. Like, I get so excited about habits because it's like, how do we change our life? It's when something inside of our lifestyle, no matter how small and no matter how minute, it's altered regularly, like on a daily basis. You meditate every day. For every start day for 5 minutes, it's going to change something. Every day, it's changing 5 minutes of your life. So don't discount that 5 minutes of your life if it's going to be, if it's something that's scheduled like every day. That's so wild, man. Yeah. Anyways,
amazing. Hashtag dopamine scroll. I love that. Listen,
yeah, go ahead.
You're dropping pearls in there, man. There's a lot of things that you mentioned there that I just want to highlight. So you started off right off the bat talking about willpower, and you are aware that willpower is finite, and I think that's such an important insight to have. Willpower is finite. It's like an energy that fades over time, right? It's almost like a muscle that we have to build up, and you've pointed out that it's finite, and so you are aware of that. And you're also aware that habits happen regardless whether we are conscious of them or unconscious. So you talked about this dopamine scroll late at night. That's, I assume, an unconscious habit that you've developed, but your body just goes into it and does it because you've built up the habit. And what you're saying is that you can design yourself in such a way that you create the behaviors that will serve you in the long term. And you do that by consciously creating habits, so that what I'm hearing is so that you don't have to rely on this finite willpower to make something happen, but because you've developed the habit over time, your body now works instinctively. And one of the habits that you mentioned, which has so many benefits for you, is meditation. You know, just putting that schedule in 5 minutes a day, every day. The cold showers you mentioned, consciously taking the effort to do that at the beginning will mean that over time your body will instinctively draw itself to those activities. And I think
that's the big thing right there. It's like your body like will respond faster. It just than the mind, right? I mean, that's what that habit is when you train your body, where it's already like it's going, it starts going, you know, just to the bathroom. Like, you know, when you're driving sometimes, and then you just forget to think, and then because you're on a certain route, you end up going to your friend's house, which is on the way, and you didn't intend to. And so that's just like your body is responding to a certain types of cues. Right? So one of my favorite books is The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg. And so there's three parts. There you have a cue, right? So maybe when you're driving, a cue is like that ice cream shop right there. And it's subconscious though. You see it, and then you start to make a right instead of a left. And I'm going to my friend Max Rucker's place. And I didn't mean to. I went there so many times in the past that my body's just responding fast. And that becomes a routine. And so there's a cue, there's a routine, and there's a reward. That's that mechanism that goes like this, right?
Amazing. Okay, so you pointed out that a habit is formed out of these three essential parts. So the cue, the trigger, if you like, the routine that we automatically go into after we've been triggered by that cue, and then the reward, this idea that there is some reward that we're getting. So taking that, I'm guessing that, what did you call it? Instagram dopamine, or the hashtag, the Instagram dopamine, scrolling dopamine scroll. Taking that dopamine scroll, for example. So the cue could be that notification symbol on the corner of the Instagram icon, for example. That's the cue, right? I need to do something. And then the routine is opening up the Instagram page and scrolling. And then the reward is that dopamine hit. So there these three elements. So when we know these three elements, Gavin, and you've already told us that habits are so important because they can be life-changing. So we're aware that habits are formed of the cue, the routine, and the reward. What can we do with that information to develop habits that will change our lives?
Well, according to Charles Duhigg, is that sometimes it requires a certain sense of self-awareness, right? There's a trial and error. The thing that to be modified is the middle part, is the routine. So the cue, right? The cue is something to be aware of. Like for me, at the end of the day, with Instagram, like my willpower is lower at the end of the day, man. And so my night rituals are more difficult than my morning rituals. The cue is usually like sometimes it's at the end of the day, is boredom at the end of the day. Right there, when I'm kind of like decompressing, it's like I wanted to stimulate myself because I can be a night owl, man. And so sometimes boredom is the cue. I just feel bored. Oh my God. Like, oh, let me just get my phone, right? Bored. Ooh. The reward is that quick thing. Oh, I wonder what kind of notifications I got. And then it's just like that wondering of, maybe I'll hear from somebody. Maybe, and then for that discovery thing, it's just like, oh, maybe I'll see a pretty chick. Right? It's an instant pleasure. It's that dopamine. Really, that I'm not saying I want that dopamine. It's just like, oh, it's in the form of, I want to see a hot chick that posted. This attractive chick that I follow. Like if she has a new post or some shit.
Right. Okay. And so you said the key thing then is awareness, self-awareness, right? Knowing what the cue is. So for you, in this particular instance, the cue is boredom, this feeling of boredom. So you are aware of that, right? That's powerful. The second thing, the routine that you then go into is this dopamine scroll, right? You start scrolling because there's this reward that you're going to get, which is you might see a new picture or a new post or something like this. So how can you change that routine when the cue happens? You do a different routine that produces the same result, because that's what Charles Duhigg talks about, right? He says change the routine, keep the cue the same, keep the reward the same, but change the routine. So how can you change that routine once you feel boredom to get the same reward that you get from your dopamine scroll.
Right. I do have a book on my bedside, and so it gets a little deeper. I'll say reading is very stimulating to me, you know, and so I don't always reach for that, for sure, you know. And another thing so I'd say reading is a routine that fits, and I have it right on my bedside where I can sleep while I just do it while I'm in bed. I get tired within like 10 minutes when I'm laying down reading. Yeah, totally. Another thing that I realized is my late night workouts. When I do my late night workouts, oh man, it totally increases the possibility of me like all the blue light and stuff in the gym, you know, like I'm super just stimulated at the end. My heart, my body temperature is like higher than normal because I exercised. That just, it makes it, I'm a little more like up afterwards. And then that's usually when I get that scrolling when I get back. It's like, oh my God, I still got energy, man. And fuck, I'm bored now. And then I go. And so moving the workout, you see, this really requires a change in the lifestyle, which has been hard for me. But these morning workouts, when I do the morning workouts, I average 10 to 11 o'clock, I go to sleep. When I have my workouts, it's 12 to 1.
Interesting.
2-hour difference, man.
I love that. Okay, listen, we're going to wrap up this video, but just some key insights there. Habit, why is a habit so important? And as Gavin pointed out, which I agree with, is that habits can be life-changing, right? Gavin talked about this concept of willpower being finite, and just being aware of that is so powerful, because then, you know, we know how we can use that resource appropriately. And Gavin's aware that his feigns later in the evening. So Gavin talked about this idea of the 3 elements that make up a habit. The first is that cue that triggers us to do this routine, which is effectively the habit, right? That's what we keep doing in order to get this reward. And in the case that you mentioned, Gavin, it was the dopamine scroll, right? And you've identified what you can do here to change that routine. Once you have the trigger, you can change the routine so that you still get the same reward. And you mentioned reading, right? And you've got the book placed on your bedside. You also mentioned this idea of a lifestyle change. So maybe one habit affects another, right? And that could go into keystone habits. These are things which have the biggest impact on other smaller habits. So being aware of these keystone habits, which affect everything else. And you talked about changing the time that you do your workout from the evening to the morning time, which would then affect your evening routine, because when you do the morning workouts, you tend to go to bed around 10, 11 o'clock. So just having that awareness, I think the big thing for me that I'm taking from this conversation is that self-awareness, being aware of the cue, how you're responding, what you're getting from it, so that you can have the power to make a change. I think that's the main thing. So you heard it from Gavin here, folks. Habits are life-changing. And if you can just become aware of those 3 elements, your cue, the routine, and the reward you're getting from doing those habits, and just change the routine so that the cue can stay the same and your reward stays the same, then you will really have the power to, as Gavin rightly put it, change your life. So if you got some value from this video from Gavin and I, please like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend to come and check out this video. We would love to hear from you as well. Drop us a comment. This recording will be available in various different formats, but we would love to hear from you and connect genuinely. So I'm going to sign out. Michael from London. Gavin.
Hey.
Thanks, folks. Take care. Thank you.